What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Wednesday, so we are back at it again with our weekly predictions. And just like always, we have Chris DuPont, Tate Tolman, and Joe Gutierrez chiming in with their weekly picks. I can't wait to tell you what they have in store for week 6. We will get to that in a bit, but in the meantime, check out my Bulldog t shirt. This one was not given to me. I actually had to earn this one in a flag football tournament over the summer. So if your team is not playing in flag football tournaments in the off season, I highly recommend it. It's a great team builder. It's a lot of fun, and you get a chance to win one of these, huh, Philly DuPont? Shout out to Philly for helping us bring that trophy home. but um, Contact Randy Styles, ask him when the tournaments are, get your team signed up so that you can put in work during the off season. But anyway, it was a great weekend of football in the National Nine-Man Football League. There were no upsets, so that leaves Chris DuPont still at the top of the leaderboard. He's got 6 out of 6 picks. Gutierrez and Tolman follow right behind him with 5 out of 6. I'm a couple behind, sitting at 4 out of 6. That's all about to change this Saturday because we're going to mix it up a bit. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about last weekend's games and how they went. We'll start with Scallywags versus the Gladiators. 84 points. Yes, 84 points. That's a huge number for football. So I had to take a second, go back and watch the film and see how they put up 84 points. I found out that a lot of those came from defense and special teams. So I think they had 4 or 5 pick sixes. I think they had a punt return in there. So the 84 points wasn't as bad as it sounds because they had a lot of big plays, defense, special teams. Overall, the Scallywags just have too many playmakers, too many athletes on that team for the Gladiators to handle. But I think I can speak for everybody when we say we're thankful for the Gladiators showing up with a team to play each week and allowing us to get a game in. So shout out to the Glads. Keep up the good work. Keep improving. Looking forward to see you guys build. Outlaws and Bulldogs, 43-0. This game was windy. It was rainy. A lot of the time that leads to sloppy football. So the Bulldogs had a few mistakes, some mishandled snaps, and the Outlaws were able to capitalize off those. Jesse Nicholson and John Cruz started it off big on the first drive. Nicholson with the sack, Cruz with the scoop and score. And then Keanu Tavita and Luke McFetridge kind of just added on with some big-time plays on offense. I think they each had 2 touchdowns. So the Dogs got off to a slow start, could never really recover, and the Outlaws won big. Generals versus the Timberwolves. It was a 26-0 game. That was the game of the week. It was definitely competitive. It was hard hitting. I went back, watched the film, saw some of those hits on film even. I was like, dang, those guys came ready to play. But it was a back and forth game. The first quarter, I think it was still 0-0 at the end of the first. 14-0 at half, so it could have went either way. The Wolves' defense showed up. I feel like they held them to 26 when the Generals, they're averaging 30, so it kind of fell back on the offense. They just never could really get things going. I feel like they didn't give Rich enough time in the pocket. He was scrambling for his life back there. If you want to beat the Generals, you got to figure out a way to slow down Darryl McBride Jr. He was getting in the backfield. He was everywhere making plays, so tough to beat them when he's on fire. And then they also just got several playmakers throughout the roster. When you got Shed making plays on offense, defense, and special teams. Chris Bone out of the backfield with 3 touchdowns. And then Mikey Moring's always consistently finding ways to make big plays for them. So the list goes on. They're athletic. They're hard to beat. I think they are the team to beat in the league right now. Shout out to them for handling business. It's going to be exciting to see what the rest of the season looks like. I cannot believe it's already week 6. The season's flying by. And as the teams start to separate themselves and the playoff picture unfolds, I want to really keep my eye on the Douglas County Timberwolves. I say that because they're the team that still has a chance to kind of mix things up. They still play the Generals. They still play the Outlaws. If they win out, they can go 5-3 and kind of stir things up in the playoff rankings. So I'm excited to see how they finish after a slow start. Um, but we will get into the Scallywags versus the Bulldogs. The Scallywags are on a roll right now. Um, the Bulldogs have got to find somebody to slow down McKetney. He's all over the place on offense, defense, and special teams. So if they can't slow that guy down, I don't think they have enough weapons to beat the Scally. I'm taking the Scallywags big over the Bulldogs. Chris DuPont says the Vegas odds has a 30.5 spread by halftime for the Wags. He's taking the Scallywags. Goody says the Scallywags win big, not by 80, but they win big. And Tolman's also got the Scally. So all three of us got the Scallywags winning that game. The Generals versus the Gladiators. The Generals are putting up about 30 points a game. They're holding teams to about 10 points a game. The numbers don't lie. The Generals are too much for the Gladiators to handle. Generals win big. DuPont says the Generals continue their dominance. They beat the Gladiators. Goody says Generals don't lose again. Not this game and not all season. He's got the Generals. Tolman says the Generals win. No problem. We all got the Generals beating the Glads. Good luck to both teams. Moving on to the game of the week. The Outlaws versus the Timberwolves. This is an exciting one. It's a rematch of week 1. That game came down to the wire in Central Oregon. Outlaws ended up on top, but I'm excited for the rematch. It's going to be competitive. It should be a good game. I got the Wolves taking advantage of home field, beating the Outlaws in a close one. Tolman says the Outlaws continue to gel each week. They get better and better. They beat the Wolves. Goody says the Outlaws show up on defense. They win 28-7. And DuPont says the Wolves just haven't shown him enough on the offensive end. They have a lot of 11-man guys playing 9-man this year. It's going to take a little bit more time for them to figure out the spacing and the way the game works. He's got the Outlaws in a close one. So that's it. That's how I'm going to separate. I'm going to come back one vote because I'm taking the Wolves. They're taking the Outlaws. We'll see what happens. While we're talking about the Wolves, quick shout-out to Bryson Littlejohn for being the mid-season standout player for the NNFL. Keep up the good work. Looking forward to seeing the games this Saturday. Everybody rest up, stay healthy, and we'll see you this weekend.